Anthony D'Ambrosio, who's a candidate for state senate in the special election, is our guest this morning. So let's go on the record. He's a newcomer to Beacon Hill politics. Can he come out on top in a race with Boston City Councilor Lydia Edwards with the primary just weeks away? Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
And welcome to OTR. I'm Ed Harding, along with Newsletter 5's political reporter Sharman Zachetti. It's great to have you with us this morning. As you can see, Janet Wu was off this post-Thanksgiving show. Our guest this morning is Anthony D'Ambrosio. He is a Democrat. He's a candidate for state senate, as we just mentioned, the seat in the 1st Suffolk and Middlesex district, which includes parts of Boston and Cambridge, as well as Revere and Winthrop. He's a current member of the Revere School Committee. He's a financial analyst in the tech industry. He holds degrees from Yale and the University of Cambridge in the UK. It's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you both for having me. It's an honor.
Welcome, welcome.
Well, it's a big leap from school committee to state senate. What makes you think you're prepared for Beacon Hill?
Absolutely. Well, Revere is a difficult place in terms of politics and public service, and I have been lucky to serve on the school committee in a citywide role over the course of the past 2 years. And it's no secret that the past 2 years have been tumultuous for our nation, state, my city, and our district as a whole. We have had to face one of the most trying crises of the last decade, and the resiliency that we have shown in Revere and across the state, and the resiliency of some of the leadership actions that I've been a part of, put me in a position to adequately and successfully serve this district over the course of the next several years.
So let's talk about it. You're part of the public school community in Revere, right? Which is important to emphasize the public part. But you yourself went to private school before you went to Yale, so you're well aware of the educational divide in the state, right? For example, so for cities like Boston, for example, how can the quality of education be improved, and will wealthy suburbs always have the advantage? Can equity actually be achieved?
It's a good question, and I truly believe that it can be achieved, but we need to re-examine the way in which we administer educational policy in the state already. Look at the COVID-19 crisis and what it has forced us into, for example. It has just heightened a lot of the equity issues that we have already seen. Coming out of the crisis, MCAS scores are at all-time lows. Students are struggling with social and emotional needs. Parents are struggling to educate these students remotely and in person coming out of this crisis. The state needs to take a very, very hard look at releasing funding now, right now, not over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, to aid students in their recovery, to fund summer school in additional classes, to fund online learning aids, which they're not doing now. And schools also need to have,
I was just going to inject there, and there's that big carrot of the ARPA funds that are still sitting there and still haven't been freed.
Yes.
Freed, my word, freed.
It is absolute madness, okay? This funding is needed now at an educational level. I talk to parents every single day and students every single day who are shocked about the extent to which our schools are underfunded, and this federal money that has been sitting there for quite some time remains undispersed. We saw a similar situation happen with the Student Opportunity Act over the course of COVID. That was supposed to provide low-income and working-class cities like the city of Revere with a massive amount of new funding, and that was kicked as well to after the pandemic.
And the governor has been outspoken, of course, on the ARPA funding as well. Diversity, that is a big issue on Beacon Hill right now. 40 members of the state senate, not a single one who is African American. Your opponent in the race is Lydia Edwards. She is a person of color. How would you reach out to all the diverse communities in your district, which includes parts of Boston, Cambridge, as well as Revere and Winthrop?
I work with everybody in my communities, and my team, the team that has been supporting me in this race, is quite a diverse team already. I'm the son of immigrants. My dad came here from southern Italy in 1972 with the clothes on his back. My mom was born a year or two after her family immigrated here from southern Italy. My entire family is comprised of first or second generation Americans who know the struggle of not being accepted or being an other in American society. Respecting the rights and elevating the rights of those who have been traditionally disadvantaged in the state and country. It's in the DNA of everything I have done over the course of my life and what my family has done since we got to this country.
Should the State House still be closed right now?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
The State House is a center of public discourse in this state. It is a place for people to go to remedy any grievances they might have with the political establishment and political elite of this state. All working class people, all blue collar workers, and even most white collar workers are back to work in person right now. We have very high vaccination rates. The vaccines work. We have high masking capacity in this state. And it is absolutely foolish to me that our state house is the only state house in the United States right now that remains closed. It is foolish and it's astonishing.
Well, and that leads us perfectly into the state's COVID-19 response. So and I'll just hit the highlight points and let's talk about that. Cases are rising as the holiday season arrives. Kids are now getting shots. Boosters are available. So could the state have done a better job in managing the crisis, or has the state done a good job at managing the crisis?
No, the state could have done an absolutely better job.
What would you have done differently?
Absolutely. So immediately to start, you would need to, or I would have dispersed more funding for support of small businesses. There were loans available at the start of the pandemic, but the management and disbursement of those loans was flawed. Many small businesses were unable to receive those loans, and as a result, you had massive mega corporations like Amazon, like Uber through Uber Eats, come in and take over working class cities all over the country, but all over our district as well. I can't tell you how many small restaurants closed in the city of Revere over the course of COVID because they were cut in terms of margins by Uber Eats, or small businesses that were pushed out by Amazon that had the ability to stock.
Yeah, but neither one of those is COVID. Uber Eats is not COVID. Amazon is not COVID. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, but relief.
So that the natural progression of those of life might have evolved at the same point, is what I'm saying.
It wouldn't have evolved as rapidly if we had provided more relief to small businesses at the start of this pandemic. There wouldn't have been the vacuum that Uber Eats and Amazon have filled, and that wouldn't have happened quite as rapidly.
So is that does that fall in the hands of the legislature right now because they're hanging on to this ARPA funding, or does the governor bear any responsibility for that?
Every single elected official in this country bears responsibility for that issue, but it's especially on the plate of the legislature right now. Again, it's a shame that ARPA funding is being held up because of political games and just stagnation, a general air of stagnation in the legislature. But it's now incumbent upon the legislature to make up for their mistakes of the past 2 years and allocate this funding efficiently and appropriately in those educational areas I've discussed, towards small business support that I've discussed.
Right, wonderful.